Will you look at that? Golden on top, bubbling at the edges and properly crusty all the way around. That's exactly what we're after. This isn't just mac and cheese, this is the ultimate mac and cheese. And the best bit, it's not the middle, it's that edge, that crusty, cheesy, baked on bit around the outside. So I'm going to show you exactly how to build that from the start. This is the ultimate where we take a dish you already love and show you exactly how to make it properly at home with techniques that actually make a difference. Mac and cheese is one of those recipes everyone has an opinion on. Some people throw in 5 cheeses, some people add bacon, some people go for the full pasta bake, but this version we're keeping the flavours really clear. I want this to taste of cheese, not blue cheese, not goat's cheese, not the whole cheese board, but cheddar. Proper, savoury, tangy cheddar. Then we're going to do a few things that are going to make a massive difference. A brown butter cheese sauce, evaporated milk for richness without making it too heavy. Marmite for a savoury depth and chunks of cheese for pockets of goo. And that breadcrumb topping that makes things properly crunchy. First up, the pasta. This is 500 grams of elbow macaroni, and I know you can use other shapes, penne, rigatoni, but for macaroni cheese, you really want elbow macaroni. It gives you the right ratio of sauce to pasta. So in this goes. And then I'm going to bring that back to the boil. Cooking is all about the small things and getting them right, and when it comes to pasta you want to stir it for the first 2 minutes and it won't stick. Now listen, I know this might sound a bit ridiculous, me teaching you how to stir, but when it comes to cooking it really is the small things that matter, and I see my kids doing this all the time. So it doesn't matter if I'm cooking this pasta or when I'm making the sauce later, when you are stirring you are trying to make sure the spoon hits the base of your pan so nothing sticks. You're not creating a whirlpool, you're not trying to tickle the top of the water, you're actually getting the spoon in and you're making sure nothing sticks, which is the whole point of stirring. So there's no need to oil the water, you can oil the pasta once it's been drained. Yes, you want the water to be salted, but you know what, that whole salty as the sea thing is a bit too much for this dish because what we're going to put it into is a very salty sauce. So I am going to keep the salt fairly kind of to medium with this one. And you want to give it 2 minutes less than the packet says because it's going into a hot oven, so that's when it will continue to cook. I've drained the pasta well and I'm just going to toss it in a small piece of butter. Now other recipes tell you to cool the pasta down in cold water. Never do that, not just for this. When it comes to cooking pasta, the starch in the pasta is where the flavour is. Cold water is essentially just going to wash that flavour away. So tossing it either in some butter or a bit of oil is the perfect tip to cooking pasta ahead. So we're just going to coat the pasta in some butter and that's going to stop it from sticking. Now the sauce. We're going to start with 80 grams of butter, which we're going to tip into a heavy bottom pan, and then we're going to brown it. So first it melts, then it foams, and then it starts to turn a nut brown. And that browning is flavour. It gives the sauce a deeper, toasted, almost hazelnutty note, so the mac and cheese tastes richer, more savoury, even before the cheese goes in. So I'm going to put the butter in the pan and we're going to melt the butter. Now this isn't a non-negotiable, you can make a perfectly good roux with basic melted butter, but because this is the ultimate, we are going to brown this butter. When it comes to browning butter, you want to sizzle the butter first and then we're going to watch it go a nutty brown. So what's happening here is that the milk solids are separating from the butter fat, and when we're browning, essentially we're caramelising the milk solids, which is what is going to give us that lovely nutty flavour. And you know what, with this, I actually think that listening to how things cook is really underutilised. You know what, when I cook fried onions, you can actually really hear the difference of what they sound like when they go into the pan raw and what they're like when they're actually caramelised and sticky. So just like the onions, it's the same with the butter. It actually stops sizzling and that's when you know you need to watch it because it's starting to brown. So already it's starting to make a different noise. So rather than fizzing, they're starting to crackle. And I know that we're about a minute off. And I can see in the bottom of the pan, those milk solids are just starting to caramelise. And this is where we build the base of our flavour. And as I said before, you listening out? It's really not fizzing as much as it was. It's more or less gone silent. And that is our brown butter. So to keep it brown, I'm just going to take it off the heat. I want to reserve about a tablespoon for our top. And then we're going to put that back on the heat. And then I'm going to go in, just like making a classic white sauce, with the flour. And as I mentioned before, you see I'm stirring. What am I doing? I'm scraping the bottom of the pan, right? Big movement, so everything is mixed. I'm getting all the lumps out of that flour, just cooking out that flour. Now, when it comes to making a roux sauce, I honestly think you need a spoon and a whisk. A spoon to start with when you're stirring in that flour, and then a whisk when you start adding the milk. So when you've cooked out your flour and everything is like, it's like the texture of wet sand, you are ready to add your milk. Now, honestly, you don't have to worry too much about this. I've made really good roux-based sauces by simply putting everything in the pan and just stirring it together and whisking. It's not very chefy. It does give you a slight uncooked flour flavour, but you can do it that way. But as this is the ultimate, we are going to do this properly, and we're going to add our milk gradually, and we're going to whisk it in. So just little by little, and some recipes tell you to add warm milk to a warm roux, but honestly, I've never found that that makes much of a difference. In that goes. So when things start to get lumpy, don't panic, just hold back the milk, whisk until things go smooth, and then add some more milk again. As long as you keep on whisking, things are going to be absolutely fine. So can you see I've got this thick paste, but I know that's lump free, and it's simply a matter of adding more milk. That's gorgeous, look at that. That's just what we're after, this lovely, silky, smooth paste that we're just going to add more and more milk to. So as I said before, like a lot of recipes, and the way that I was taught to do it is to heat the milk up. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that, and I think by heating the milk up, probably less chance of it becoming lumpy, but I have never found any issues with adding cold or room temperature milk to a warm roux as long as you whisk. So as you're going to keep on hearing me say in this series, cooking is nothing more than a bunch of small jobs done well. They're building blocks. Learn the building blocks and the rest will come together. Learn to make a roux and you can make 1,000 sauces. Maybe not 1,000, but you can make quite a lot of sauces. This is a basic white sauce that we're making, but we have just upped it a level and made it the ultimate by browning the butter. Certainly not essential, but from that we have something they call a mother sauce. A white sauce, which is classically called a bechamel. If you add cheese, you then have a mornay, a classic cheese sauce with some chicken stock or some fish stock and a bit of double cream. It could be turned into a velouté. You learn to make this basic white sauce and you will literally have hundreds of sauces ready at your fingertips, all based around this roux. Now this is what's going to take your mac and cheese from a 2 to a 10. And it's not cream, it's not creme fraiche, it's not clotted cream, it's evaporated milk. This is a bit of an American mac and cheese trick. It gives the sauce that lovely, glossy, almost silky texture that you get with really good American style mac and cheese, but without making it taste overly creamy or heavy. Now the cheese, I'm using extra mature cheddar because I want it to taste like proper mac and cheese. You can add whichever cheese you want, Gruyere, Red Leicester, Comté, whatever you like. But the reason I'm using cheddar is because I want it to taste of a clear, classic cheese flavour. I don't want it generic cheese, I want it to taste of cheddar. Now this is a great way of using leftovers, and by all means, if it's that time of year when you've got a cheese board or you have lots of different bits of cheeses in your fridge, you can add them all to this. But if you have the option, and as my preference is, I love the tang of cheddar. I'm going to finish it with a bit of Parmesan, which just seems to boost the flavour of the cheddar. Oh, look at that. Now I developed this recipe quite a long time ago and I stand by it. This is a brilliant recipe. But since I developed it for our website, I've learned how to make a really good cheese crust around the edge of a mac and cheese. So this is an exclusive for YouTube. I'm holding back some of the cheese, so when I put it together, I'm going to sprinkle it around the edge so you get a beautiful cheese crust. Now we're going to flavour boost with mustard powder, whoop, a good pinch of cayenne. Will you look at that? That's gorgeous. And an optional tablespoon of Marmite. Now Marmite isn't here to taste of Marmite, it's here to make everything taste more savoury, more cheesy, more of itself. And if you don't like it, simply leave it out. And finally, a splash of vinegar. Malt vinegar, cider vinegar, red wine vinegar. That bit of acidity is just going to cut through the richness and wake the whole thing up. Now, I did see a comment where someone wasn't that keen on the vinegar in the cheese sauce, but all I can say to you is that cheese and acidity go really well together, and it's why we have pickles with cheese. Now, by all means, none of these are non-negotiable. We have a beautiful cheese sauce ready to go. If you don't like the flavour of mustard or of cayenne or of Marmite, simply leave them out. Now listen, again, I'm really sorry if I'm being obvious, but it is the small things that matter. That is actually delicious. Now, cooking without tasting is like driving with your eyes closed. You would be surprised how many times I've tried something that someone's cooked that they haven't actually tasted. Yes, recipes are there to be followed, but you need to taste these things to make sure they're perfectly seasoned and full of flavour. Taste, 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 taste as you cook, and then you know your food is perfectly seasoned. Off the heat, stir the macaroni into the sauce. Here we go. We want every bit to be really well coated. Now, if you were doing a classic American mac and cheese, or a mac and cheese that they say is eaten from a mug or from a bowl, then this is it. It's ready to go. But as we're going to do a classic mac and cheese that's being baked, there's a few other tricks we're going to add to this. Oh, look at the shine on that. Enough with the cheese pool, people. We are going cheese pockets. So we're going to stir through the chunks of cheddar off the heat. These melt into little pockets as it bakes. So when you scoop it out, you get those molten bits running through the middle. If you are making it for your socials and you want to add that cheese pool, then all you have to do is add mozzarella. You add mozzarella to something and you'll get big cheese pools. It's not about flavour, but cheese pockets are all about gooey bits of cheese in whatever it is you're baking. That's all about flavour. So now I'm going to butter my dish. Now, I think this is a really important step whenever you're making any type of gratin, because whether you butter your dish or whether you oil your dish, what you're doing is you're creating a layer of fat for whatever it is that you're putting in the dish to essentially fry in. And that is where you get those lovely, lovely crispy bits from. Now, this is a thing that I learned from making focaccia, because when you make focaccia, you want focaccia to go lovely and golden underneath. And what you're doing when you're making focaccia is you're basically frying the base in olive oil, and the same applies to something like this. When it heats up in the oven, that butter's going to heat up and it's essentially going to fry the base of our mac and cheese, and that's where we're going to get all those lovely crispy bits. So I'm just spooning the mac and cheese into our dish. Nice. And then I'm just going to spread it around, and we're just going to leave ourselves some of the edges to get lovely and crispy. I mean, chef's perks, right? Now for our topping. Now listen, this is the ultimate, and the ultimate we allow ourselves all the ingredients we need to make something as good as it can be. But by all means, you don't have to use all the ingredients that we use. I am using two types of breadcrumbs because they both have a different function. I'm using fresh breadcrumbs because that soaks up some of the oil that the cheese lets out, and I'm using panko because they go really crispy. Now, some people don't even like breadcrumbs on their mac and cheese, but I think it adds a really lovely crunch. So we are mixing our breadcrumbs. I have some fresh breadcrumbs. I have some panko breadcrumbs. I'm going to mix it all together. It's a really lovely topping. And then I'm going to add half my parmesan. In that goes like that. And then the other parmesan I'm going to mix with the cheddar that I kept behind for our YouTube exclusive cheese crust. So we're going to toss our breadcrumbs and our parmesan together, and then we're just going to scatter a nice layer over. But this holds as a really lovely topping for bits of fish, for bits of chicken, as a pasta bake. Even you could do like a cheese on toast and then sprinkle it over just to add a bit of texture. But what this does is it adds crunch to something that is essentially quite soft. And now, this is a YouTube exclusive. This is something I've just started doing recently whenever I'm doing anything that's baked with cheese. And it comes from a recipe that I developed for Detroit pizza, where you build a cheese crust around the edge. It just gives you an extra crispy edge As a family, my kids fight over the edge bits because those are the bits that go lovely and crispy. I'll build that up the side. And then that brown butter we kept behind, we're just going to drizzle over. There we go. And that is ready to bake. Now, if you wanted to get ahead, this could easily be prepared up to this point and then kept in the fridge, or you know what, it's really good frozen. But I'm going to get this in a really hot oven because everything's cooked. All we're trying to do is melt the cheese and crisp the top. Right now, that's come out of the oven and it's hotter than the sun. We're just going to leave it for 5 minutes to relax, let that crust harden, then it's going to be perfect to eat. I mean, I couldn't be any happier with that. You can see, look at the edge. Look at that cheese crust. I know as soon as I put a spoon into that, the cheese around the outside is just going to be caramelized and super crispy. I really couldn't be any happier with that. It truly deserves to be called the ultimate. Now this is where you see buttering that dish and adding that cheese has just made all the difference. Can you see that it's coming away from the edges? We're going to get a beautiful slice and you're going to see just how golden those edges are. We're going to go in. Guys, are you ready? Yeah? Guys, are you ready? Right then, you ready? That's the big reveal. Oh my goodness, look how crunchy that edge is. That's from the butter and that's from the extra cheese. I'm putting that in the bowl and you're going to see that ooze apart. Now some people like their mac and cheese super runny in the middle. Personally, I think that is the perfect texture. Can you see that? To me, that's the perfect ratio of sauce to macaroni. You've got the sauce still coating the macaroni, but it's not super wet. It's not like mac and cheese soup. And we've got all those extra crispy bits from that buttering of the dish to that grated cheese around the edge. I think those are the perfect proportions for mac and cheese. Honestly, I can't wait to eat it. Oh my goodness. Oh. The cheesiness is off the scale. That is truly delicious. Honestly, the ultimate mac and cheese. And there it is, our ultimate mac and cheese. Proper cheddar flavour, a glossy sauce, a crunchy top, a gooey middle, and the best crust ever. Give it a go. Let us know how you get on in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more recipes from the Good Food Test Kitchen.